Around the Ozarks is now on your FM radio. Listen to Around the Ozarks mornings with Grace Gooley as I spotlight local people, stories, and podcasts, all while playing the country legends of the 90s and the hit makers of the 2000s. It's on the Ozarks Best Country, 105.1 The Bull.
You're listening to The Real Deal Conversations, a podcast designed to encourage, inspire, and equip you by sharing real stories and meaningful conversations that bring real life to the surface. I'm your host, Megan Deal. Let's dive in. This episode is brought to you by Ozark Veterinary Clinic and Ma's Place Family Restaurant. I am with Melanie Blair today. Melanie is with the Lost and Found Grief Center, and we're going to actually kind of talk about what brought her to the Lost and Found Grief Center. She has a personal story, and I have not heard it yet. It is new to me, as everybody who listens knows. That's just kind of how all the episodes go. It's just first time information for me. I like it to be real conversations. Melanie, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So kind of walk us through, and and to be honest with you, these conversations, I'm always nervous for them, because I have not experienced great loss. And I usually come from the side of wanting to learn how to come alongside people. And so anyway, will you start us out?
That was me.
Yeah.
That's who I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in May 23rd of 2017, my husband and I had our third child. Mm-hmm. So we have 13-year-old twins. They were getting ready to turn 5 that June. So had Charlie in May, twins were turning 5, and we thought our family was complete. And I had experienced loss before, but nothing like this. Mm-hmm. So all was well in the world. He was a beautiful little baby boy. His name is Charles Naylor Blair, so his middle name is actually my maiden name.
Okay.
And thinking that we could kind of carry on my maiden name. Mm-hmm. And sadly, that's not the case for us. Mm. And in February of 2018, he got sick. And he was 8 months old at the time. And my husband just kind of really had this routine of I go to bed early because I get up early. And so he would always go say goodnight to the kids one last time before he would come to bed. And he came and woke me up and said, something's wrong with Charlie. He's not feeling good. And he's like, we need to call the doctor in the morning. So that's what we did. And, it's kind of a long story, but it's when the flu was really, really, really bad. And so we went to the doctor and just kind of started treating him for a regular virus. Mm-hmm. And as we kind of progressed, he was never improving in any capacity. And, you're a mother. Yeah. When you have kids that are sick, they're always just like push the fluids and making sure that they're urinating. And we need to be watching for that. We need to be making sure we don't have dehydration, all of these things. So I was very diligent, just taking notes of, we got to a point in this journey that we were feeding him through a syringe.
How many weeks was that? From the time of going to the doctor to that time? How quickly?
To the time he died?
No, to the time of feeding him through a syringe. Where you guys were like, hey, just this is not...
A couple of days.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we went in on a Monday, and that by Tuesday evening, I was really concerned, and I made probably some mistakes along the way of Googling and, reading about things, but I would be reading and be like, oh my goodness, he has this symptom, and this symptom. And standing in my kitchen, I was reading it to my husband, and he kind of just looked at me, and I was like, we need to go. We need to go to the emergency room. So Tuesday evening, we took him to the emergency room. He was diagnosed with adenovirus. Had never heard of it at the time, but basically just a generic virus. And we ended up, they had a really hard time getting an IV into him. They ended up having to put it into his head. It was the only place they could find a good vein because he was dehydrated.
Yeah.
They needed to push fluids. So We were admitted into the hospital. A few days go by. He's never really improving. He's never really opening his eyes. He's never really feeding well. He's vomiting. And we were discharged. And they were like, you can do everything that we can do here at home. And, hindsight, you take these people's opinions for what they are. And they're the professional. Mm-hmm. And I always kind of say now, they're practicing medicine. Right. Yeah. And so I wish a lot of my journey has just been sorting through the guilt and the wish I could have done for him, and wish I would have known more to ask more questions or to push.
And I know some other moms who have lost a child for suddenly in its illness. And I'm not close with them to have conversation, but on Facebook and stuff. And I do see them grieving, and and when you do go through that guilt, what would you say to other moms who are experiencing that, just to connect with them?
It's kind of full circle, and I think we'll get to that. But now I am a therapist at Lost and Found, and I do sit alongside a lot of these people where we are just having conversations of, what if we would have done those things? Yeah. Could the outcome have been the same? Yeah, it could have. Yeah. Maybe it couldn't have. Yeah. But, it's just a lot of working through control. Yeah. I think a lot of us think we have more control in things than we really do. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn through this process, was just I don't have a lot of control. Yeah. And, you live with this terrible guilt of, you feel like, the main big job of what you have to do is to keep your kids alive. Yeah. Yeah. Aside from raising kind, good humans. Right. It's just keeping them here and safe. And I felt like I failed him in that. Yeah. And I've had to work through a lot of, I did everything that I could do with the information that I had at the time. Yeah.
I do think that is something that we deal with in practice, where, and I don't really know how to word it, but yes, they are just practicing. Yeah. And a lot of times it's very easy to send people home, and why we have to advocate. But you don't know that you have to advocate until you...
But I wanted to go home. Yeah, yeah. We had spent several days in the hospital at this time, and if you had a hospital stay, which you have, I'm sure that you're interrupted all the time. Yeah. It's hard to rest, and I miss my other children, so I was primarily staying with Charlie at the hospital. My husband was home with the twins, and we were trying to keep them in the most normal routine that we could and not get them sick. It's February. The flu was rampant at the time. Yeah. And so it was just a lot of, it was about, from the time he died, which he died on the 23rd of February. We started this process on the 8th of February. And so for a week, we were in and out of the pediatrician's office, the hospital. My pediatrician was calling me at home after hours, checking on us. And we really did think we were doing everything we could. And ultimately, he had a stroke. Wow. So the virus went to his brain and caused him to have a stroke. So we were transported. I guess I can name these hospitals. We were at Mercy primarily through the majority of his care, and out of the hospital in the pediatrician's office. By the time he was having his stroke, when the ambulance came, they said Cox was more equipped for something like this. So we took him to Cox because of the injuries to his brain, because what ended up happening was he had bacterial meningitis that went undiagnosed for 7 days. So the meningitis is what caused him to have a stroke. So had he been treated early on for that, we could have probably saved his life. Yeah. And so by the time we got to Cox, there was so much damage that, these are the tragic parts of the story, was just there was accusations of shaken baby syndrome. There was, police outside of our room and social workers. And, those are like the things that stick with me as a mother. Just, I had sheets and sheets of wet diaper here, 5 milliliters here, just on repeat of what I had been doing for those 7 days. And, I was really angry. And so we ended up being transported to St. Louis Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
And that's where he ultimately died. And they had done everything. They were great, by the way, just tragic outcome. But they're the ones that finally diagnosed him with meningitis. Wow. And by the time he had died, the meningitis had been treated, and it was ultimately the damage from the strokes, the multiple strokes that he had that caused for him to die.
Wow. Do you, for anyone who has gone through this, and they are maybe recently gone through this, what would you say to them as they're navigating all those feelings and emotions that come with it, and have other children and their marriage? And how would you encourage them as they navigate that, so that, one, they don't feel shame as they navigate that, and hope in it all?
I mean, ultimately, if you know me at all and you've heard this story, I do attribute who I am sitting across from you today because of the services I received at Lost and Found. Sorry, I'm going to get kind of emotional. No, okay. It's genuinely learning how to navigate these feelings that are just flooding your body that you've never felt before, and you just the shock, and you can't sort up from down. You can't care for yourself, let alone other human beings in your life. One, you don't have to do this alone. Yeah. This service in our community, one, we're really fortunate to have it. The groups are at no cost to the participants. I didn't do group at the time. I went to individual counseling. You just mentioned it, your children, your spouse. Yeah. One of my biggest fears was that my marriage was going to fail from this. Just from lack of being able to know how to communicate with one another. And so going there and being educated that no journey is identical. We have lost the same person, but the way that we're going to grieve through this is going to look so incredibly different. And we had to learn how to communicate with each other. Yeah. We had to learn how to take care of our kids. I was really fortunate. My husband and I have a beautiful support system. My best friend came from Arkansas, 8 months pregnant, and stayed in my house. I joke often. I'm like, I'm not sure how long you were there. I don't know if you were there for 2 days or 7 days, but it was what I needed. Yeah. Leaving her own family to come take care of my kids and me, to get me through the funeral, to get me through these times. And so knowing you don't have to do this alone, that it's okay to find some help. It's okay to lean into your support system. Yeah. People want to help you, right? And people always say things like, just let me know what I can do. Yeah. And I always teach people, don't just say that. Do something. Yeah. Mow the lawn, grocery shop, take the kids. If there's other kids, my kids were they were 5. Yeah. They weren't receiving services at the time. Lost and Found, Dr. Karen Scott was our therapist, and she said, this isn't the place for them right now. They're going to hear stories of parents dying. They already have this great fear that you're going to die, which was true. They still, we still deal with some separation anxiety, all these years later. Really, it's just being educated on grief, Yeah.
And if somebody would it be a normal thing for somebody to be hesitant to get help?
Absolutely.
Okay. Why is that? And what can we do to debunk why that doesn't have to be?
Yeah. Well, I don't know why that is. And I will say I think it's getting better. As I work with people across generations, the older generation was very much taught, stuff this, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, don't talk about it, move on, get over it, all these things. Well, we're not, our youth is a little bit more open to talking about mental health and to seek services. So I think we're getting better. Yeah. I think it's getting a lot better. But I think it's scary, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to come into a space and sit with a complete stranger. And if you do our groups, a room of complete strangers, it's uncomfortable. Yeah. And so we really help to try and alleviate those things for people to just get them to walk through our door. And we just ask, come 3 times, give it a try. Yeah. And we never force anyone to participate either. And so it can be all at your own pace. But I think it's I think it's getting better, but I think it's just scary.
Yeah.
You know, I think you're so out of sorts. You're so overwhelmed that it's just one more thing that you kind of have to push yourself through. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's hard to walk through the doors.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
And for anybody who is, and I don't even know if you have the answer to this question. I'm just trying to think of different things that people could be experiencing that I just want to bring to light to encourage them, in marriage. And one does want to go get help and the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's, like a point of contention.
Yeah.
How would you encourage and being at Lost and Found and doing what you do, and so seeing the different situations and scenarios, how would you encourage them to stay the course in their own healing and not get discouraged that maybe their partner isn't where they're at or doing it or,
I think part of that is the education and the conversation.
Yeah.
I see it quite frequently.
Yeah.
Even my own marriage, we started together. I needed to keep going longer than my husband did. And we were at a point where we had done it together for so long that I wasn't upset with him for that.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that do walk through the door who are navigating just that. And I think you can't help anyone else until you help yourself.
Yeah.
It's like being on the airplane when they're like, put your life mask on before you put anybody else's on. You got to figure out what you need. It's such a life-altering event. Who I am sitting across from you today is a very different person than who I was before Charlie died.
Yeah.
It changed me.
Yeah.
It changed my whole family unit.
Yeah.
It changed all of us.
And yes. And I think, that is, of course, and when that happens, how do you deal with the anger and the grief of knowing that you now have to develop a new normal?
Yeah.
How do you...
I'm not sure.
I
don't know. And it just looks...
in your marriage and parenting and...
It looks different for everyone because of what you're dealing with. Since Charlie's died, we've had another baby and she's 6 now. Her name's Marley. And she was very healing for a lot of us in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
My daughter in particular, and my twins are boy-girl. And my son... he still harbors quite a bit of feelings around being the only boy now, missing Charlie. There's a lot of conversations in our car. When we go to Florida, we drive for our family vacation, and he for years will be like, if Charlie were still here, every seat in our car would be full.
Yeah.
Went to school for open house, and he had a poem up there, and he was still talking about that. And so I think I'm getting sidetracked from your question, but
no,
I just think, what we all need just looks so different. And anger is a big emotion, often a cover emotion for what you're really feeling.
Yeah. And for parents who are navigating those questions from their kids, and maybe they're having a good day and they're able to answer that question. But maybe they're having a hard day and it could be years away, but you're still having a hard day and that question comes and it's a trigger for you instead of I can answer this.
Yeah.
Is that something that Lost and Found will help them navigate? And also for you personally, have you experienced that? And how can a parent who is dealing with, I really want to be there for my child and answer this question because I know to him this question's really important, but at this moment, this is a hard question for me to answer. Just what are some ways that they can just navigate that moment where they feel trapped?
Here's the great thing about a grieving child.
Yeah.
They don't sit in it the way we sit in it.
Okay.
So if you can answer their question, and satisfy that, they're often going to move on quicker. And so that's hard for parents too, right? My son isn't crying, or, they asked this hard question. I answered it. They went and played. Well, play's their language. So that's not alarming to me. Well, who were they before the death? Were they criers? No, not really. They didn't really. Okay. Well, we can't anticipate for them to react that way then. And so I think if you can satisfy their need by answering their question, you're going to be surprised. They're not going to, they may, it depends. But often if we can satisfy that, they're going to move through it a little bit different. They do not sit like we sit in it.
That is so true, though. I mean, you do think that that they mirror who we must be, and I don't even think about how. And
they do to some respect. And this is what I tell parents all the time. They say, "I want to be strong in front of my kid. I don't want them to see me cry." No. We have to demonstrate for them. Yeah. We have to show them that it's okay. Grieving is a natural response to the love that we felt for this person. Yeah. What we're experiencing, the highs, the lows, the emotions all over the place, the random events where all of a sudden you're in tears and you're like, I don't know what just happened there. Yeah. We have to be able to show these children that, one, it's okay to have emotion. It's okay to have these feelings. Now, how do I recover? Yeah. And so they still need to see us being able to get up and, whatever that looked like. For me, it was like, I don't know why, for every day I had to get up and put my makeup on. Mm-hmm. My insides was just torn apart and I was crumbling. But if I did that, like, it gave me just a little bit of nudge to put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. And on those, for parents who are listening, who again are walking through this, on those days where it was so bleak and daunting and just hard, and that was the only thing you could do, and there is somebody listening and they're going, but when is the sun going to shine? What would you say to them?
It will.
Yeah.
It will. And that's really, really hard to hear.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking, you're crazy. I'm never going to find joy again. I'm never going to laugh the same. But you have to do the work.
Yeah.
So you have to feel the feelings. You cannot avoid the feelings. And the hardest part of it is going straight through it all and experiencing the highs and experiencing the lows. Yeah. You have to have hope that you're going to do this again. And that looks different for every person. And so for me, it's like my belief system is that I will see him again one day. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait for that day. Mm-hmm. And there were times when days were really dark that I would say things like, I just want to be with him. I want to go be with him. Yeah. Well, that wasn't me being suicidal. That was just like this intense yearning to feel him again, to smell him again, to kiss him, to hold him. That yearn is so deep. Mm-hmm. And you really can't explain these things to people until they live through it. Mm-hmm. And I always would say the term heartbroken. Man, did it have a different meaning. Mm-hmm. I had a literal ache in my heart. Mm-hmm. Literal ache. I mean, it was so painful. My chest just hurt like somebody was just sitting on it. Mm-hmm. And I can remember going to therapy and her saying, you're going to laugh again. Mm-hmm. And me just leaving and telling Sam, I don't know how that's even possible. Mm-hmm. But I sit across from you. It's been 8 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy. Mm-hmm. You know, do I miss him? Oh, my gosh. Mm-hmm. There is not one day that goes by that he doesn't enter my thoughts in some capacity. Yeah. But I always knew my children deserved the best version of what I could give them through this process. And so, you know, I showed up every day because I had children that needed me, who, you know, deserved that too.
Yeah. And for parents who I have not experienced, and there are days where I'm just like, I don't feel like I can be enough for my kids because of certain things that again, not even to this capacity. So what would you say to parents who were like, I feel like I can't be who this is going to leave a scar on my kids because I'm grieving this long, because my days, I'm having more harder days than not. And they're worried that their kids are going to remember them. And, like, there's guilt in that.
For sure.
What would you say to them to help them develop a different mindset where they're not shaming themselves, where they're not afraid that my kids are going to remember me in this stage forever. And it's good. How would you help them through those feelings during those really hard days?
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
More than just an answer. But it's taking time to figure out what's your meaning?
Yeah.
What's your purpose?
Yeah.
And rewarding yourself for when you do show up in those hard times. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. None of us are. Even without this, right? We're always just doing the best that we can. And so continuing to remember, I'm doing the best that I can right now. Yeah. I'd be a liar if I said these thoughts didn't enter my mind, right? Yeah. And I said to somebody not too long ago, I wonder when my kids get older and they have more life experience, what they're going to think of me. They're going to remember this. I mean, Charlie's very present in our home. We talk about him. His stocking is hung right now. We will give a gift in his honor. We're constantly remembering him and talking about him. It's figuring out how to integrate these people that mean so much to us into our daily life. Yeah. Continuing a relationship with them, even though they're no longer here with us. Yeah. And so being proud of yourself when you accomplish what you set out to accomplish. And sometimes this is just as simple as like making your bed, taking a shower, brushing your teeth. Yeah. The energy that it takes to do that while you're deeply grieving is pretty profound. Yeah. So, I celebrate these things with my clients. It's like, you did a good job today. Yeah. And they're like, that's all I did. I'm like, that was a big step. Yeah. You haven't been doing that. And you're doing that. Yeah. So be proud of yourself for that. Yeah. These times are going to get fewer and far between. And I think that that's what we offer at Lost and Found, and especially in the groups, is that you can sit with other people who are at different parts of this journey, and you can see in the room, oh my gosh, Susie, when I first met Susie, she couldn't come in here and tell us about her spouse at all. And now look at her. She's laughing again and she's smiling, and you think, oh my gosh, there is hope for me. I can do that again one day.
Yeah. And I think there's something so healing when you connect with other people. And the things that you think, the things that you're experiencing and doing, the way you're handling things, it is so easy, no matter what the circumstances or the reasoning, it is very easy to get isolated and think, maybe this isn't a normal way to think. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. Maybe I'm even grieving wrong. And then you start, and it spirals you even lower. And when you're connecting with people, there's something so healing to go, wait, you thought that too? I thought it was a dark thought. It's not a dark thought. It's a normal thought. Yeah. And all of a sudden, these things that make you feel shame and trapped are now going, oh, that's okay.
It's a huge part of what we do.
Yeah.
It's normalizing these things.
Yes.
Because you've never felt it before.
Right.
And so you feel crazy.
Yeah.
You can't manage a schedule anymore. You're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? My mind. You can't remember why you walk into a room. And when you go and you learn, oh my goodness, this is grief. Yeah. This is a normal reaction to what's happening in my body. Yeah. You can normalize that for people, because even though you may be physically surrounded by people, grief in general is very isolating. Yeah. So it's just that our mind is tough. And, I sit with a lot of people, and this is myself included. And this is, I think, human nature. People do this outside of grieving, right? You get a narrative in your head. Yep. You tell yourself this story in your head, and you just go down this rabbit hole, and you're mean to yourself, and the things you're saying to yourself are terrible. That takes work to kind of like reframe these. So a lot of what I do in a therapy session is just helping people shift their perspective. Yeah. And normalizing that. When you can hear someone else say, I thought those same things, or I feel that way too, and you watch this room of 12 to 15 people just shaking their head at one another, you're like, this is it. This is why we do this.
Yeah. And you said it. You hit the nail on the head when you said you've never experienced it before. And if it's something new, everything you feel and think is going to be you have to get educated. And the only way you're going to do that is by connecting somehow, whether it's with people or education, and going and learning. Because grief, you have the steps. Okay, but what are those steps? What you just said, walking into a room, that's part of one of the steps is you can just have a loss of memory and unfocused and disorganized. Oh, I didn't know that was related to one of the
to grief.
Parts of grief, and I think that's in so many things. We know what things are, but we don't ever learn the details of, all the roots of it and what can happen. And I think it's so important, like we just keep saying, connection and learning and education and not sitting and allowing your mind to shame you.
Everyone likes breakfast any time of the day, and that is what you'll get at Ma's Place Family Restaurant and Pit Style Barbecue in Kimberling City. Start off your day with Bruce's homemade biscuits and gravy, or how about their monster 3 egg omelets? For breakfast, lunch, or dinner, be sure and stop by Ma's Place Family Restaurant and Hickory Smoked Pit Style Barbecue in Kimberling City. Ma's Place, downright good food.
And I want to kind of go real quick. 2 things. I want to talk about how you incorporate Charlie's memory, but I also want to talk real quick about, because not everybody's going to do that. Some people are going to push it away. And that's, again, what you mentioned earlier. Everybody grieves differently.
That's right.
Some people are going to shut it out, not look at the bedroom. So how would you normalize the different types of reactions for memory, and not so that people don't feel bad, or maybe they have a spouse who's like, I want to incorporate memories, and the other spouse is like, I don't even want to hear the name right now because it hurts too deep. Yeah. What would you say in those situations? And it doesn't, I know it's kind of a big question with probably a really broad answer, but just encouraging people, in those different stages. And then how do you incorporate? And did it take you a little bit to be able to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So walk us,
For sure. So I think it feels selfish sometimes to kind of care for our own being through this process. Yeah. But I think it's important that you figure out what you need. But I think it's okay for a spouse to say, let me give you an example.
Yeah.
When I started to work at Lost and Found, my husband was like, I think this is great, but I can't be this person for you. Mm. I can't have you come home and share all of these things with me. I cannot hear it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Ooh.
Yeah.
And I've been able to respect that, but it was like this level of communication that had to happen between us. So I think it's okay to vocalize. I think it's incredibly important to vocalize those things. I don't think it's like shutting someone out by saying, this isn't going to work for me. What we know, if we're talking about a married couple, is that, especially if they're parenting other surviving children and a child's died, that they're never going to be on the same wavelength, and the things that bother one may not be the things that bother somebody else. So you just have to learn how to communicate that and respect that. So you always have to keep talking. But let me also say that not every relationship with the person that died is a healthy and loving relationship. Mm-hmm. So grief is just complicated in general. Yeah. Which is when you may see these things that people can't talk about, like, my child, had substance misuse issues. Uh-huh. I feel really relieved that I'm not waiting for that phone call anymore. Now, what a weird emotion, right?
Yeah.
Because relief is like, well, they're dead. Well, I know, but I was living in this constant heightened phase for 15 years while I watched them slowly die. Like, I don't have to live in that state for myself anymore. Yes, I'm sad, right? We have to work through those other emotions. Or we have a child that comes through and their parent was abusive, or also struggling with some form of addiction. Those are complicated relationships. Yeah. So we have to understand that not everything looks normal. I don't know what normal is.
Right. But like universal. Yeah. It doesn't look the same for everybody and not everybody's circumstance. Yeah.
So you just have to really honor where people are at and what their relationship looked like. You know, we could be grieving the same friend, but our relationship with that person looked different.
Yeah.
And so the way that we're going to grieve is going to look different.
Yeah.
So just communication.
Yeah. And so for you, getting to the point of incorporating his memories.
Yeah.
How long did that take to be able to kind of do that? And how did you?
So one of our fears, and what I'm learning is most people's fear, is that people are going to forget them. People are going to stop saying their name.
Yeah.
Terrible fear of mine.
Yeah.
You know, he died on his 9-month birthday. And all I could think was he was only 9 months old. Like people are going to stop talking about him like he never existed. And I couldn't let that happen. And so it was a part of our therapy was just figuring out what did it look like for us. And so how it came to be for us was I had this really big fixation on, you know, I carried him for 9 months. He was only here for 9 months. And then all of a sudden now I've lived without him for 9 months. So I just was fixated on numbers and dates and just it was really complicated for me. And so we were approaching his first birthday. And our therapist just really talked to us about what does his first birthday look like for you? What are you going to do? And the friend that I told you about that came, for one, she drove from Arkansas when she knew we were coming back with a friend in Springfield and filled my refrigerator so my kids had food to eat. Then she came back and took care of us.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking to her and I was telling her, I'm like, just trying to figure out what are we going to do? Part of his funeral was everyone brought stuffed animals because he was at St. Louis Children's Hospital. They used stuffed animals quite a bit there. So we got a lot of new stuffed animals, took them back to St. Louis Children's Hospital and made a donation. And she's like, you know, I have this friend who, after their child died, they were doing acts of kindness. And I was like, oh, I really like that. And so I just sat with it for a while, talked to my husband, and I had a friend who does design. And I reached out to her and I was like, I don't know how to explain this, but I want some kind of birthday card for his first birthday that is asking my friends and family to just go out and do something kind in the world. When we were in St. Louis and we had been in the hospital for several days, we went to the Galleria. Why we chose the Galleria, I don't know. But we went in to get my husband a new sweatshirt. And this person didn't hold the door for me and let it slam in my face. And I remember just thinking, if he only knew what I was dealing with right now, maybe he would have held the door for me. If we could just have a little level of kindness in this world, maybe our world would just be a little bit better of a place. And so that's kind of how it evolved, was just on his first birthday, we sent out this it looked like a birthday invitation, and inside had 2 little cards, square cards, that I just asked that they give when they did something kind, whether it's buying Starbucks or whatever. And my friends and family, it gives me goosebumps just to think about, blew us away.
Yeah.
The things that they chose to do in his honor were just absolutely amazing. And the people that were getting the cards in the beginning were reaching out to us. And they were asking to participate. And so over the years, it's grown significantly where I still send them out every birthday. And we've kind of expanded it instead of just on May 23rd, doing it all year round if you just feel the need. And it was always just a day that allowed for me to feel these 2 polarizing emotions.
Yeah.
Like gratitude for my support system, but you know, just so sad that, you know, here we are another birthday without him. And I just feel fortunate. And it's allowed for us to just continue to talk about him and share him with the world. And he's not forgotten.
Yeah.
And that was the most important part. My 6-year-old, who, you know, obviously never met him, knows all about him.
Yeah.
Came in my room last night. Mom, I know how to spell Charlie.
Aww.
And she spells his name.
Yeah.
And first she goes, when I do this, tell me how good of a job I do when I'm done. Like, okay, I got you.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So, I mean, he's just,
Yeah.
he's in our home and he's present. And
Yeah.
early on, I always said, I made a promise to myself. If I was around people that didn't want to hear about him, then those are the people that I don't need in my life.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky.
Yeah. And how can, okay, for those like us, like I mentioned in the beginning, I am with you on what you said earlier. Don't just ask, do. Because a lot of times people are going to be like, well, one, you don't know in the moment. And two, it's like, well, what do you mean? Like, what are you wanting to do? Something big, small? Like, don't make me think about it.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Like, just do something. Outside of doing something, because some people, we can say the wrong thing. We can be nervous. Do we say too much? Did we say too little? So in the conversational side of things, give us some tips.
Yeah. Don't use platitudes.
Yeah.
You know, they're in a better place. God only gives you so much you can handle.
Oh, yeah.
You know, those things are like incredibly hurtful. And I've always kind of lived by a mantra. Well-intended people do and say hurtful things.
Yeah.
People in my life have hurt my feelings unintentionally.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know
Right.
the right. First of all, we know there is nothing right to say,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of wrong things we can say.
Yeah.
And so it's really about listening and holding space rather than finding the right words. And I think it's always okay to just say, I don't have the words.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
But I want you to know I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And people respect that.
Yeah.
The people that walk through our doors talk often about all the things that people say that are really hurtful. And I think reserving your questions, right?
Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about stigmatized death. Someone's loved one died by suicide, homicide, or just asking intrusive questions to be nosy to find out details is completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's to satisfy our own human need.
Yeah.
It does nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the story.
Yeah. And normalizing, and I think too, it's real easy to feel like you have to say something, because if you're not saying something, then it's, one, silence is uncomfortable for people in general.
Yeah, it is.
But hearing from you, it's okay to be silent and just present.
Yeah. It's okay to vocalize, I don't have it.
Yeah.
I don't have the words.
Yeah.
But I will sit here with you.
Yeah.
And don't stop saying their name.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people will be like, well, I don't know what to say. Or if I say that and they cry, I don't want to make them cry. It's not you.
Yeah.
It's more hurtful to not acknowledge, to not say the name, than it is for someone to simply just be honest and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say right now.
Yeah.
But just know I love you, or I care about you.
Yeah. And what would be good advice for someone who has, had a tragedy, had a loss, and you're wanting to reach out, you're wanting to do something, and there's that fear that if you do reach out, what if they're having a good moment and you reaching out triggers them into now they're having a bad. So like thoughts like that. I mean, I can give you like 100 different thoughts to to debunk.
Yeah.
But what would you say to somebody who's feeling like, no, I just want to check on them. How would you normalize like that being okay and you're not going to trigger them into like a bad moment?
Yeah, I think it's okay to say, I just am reaching out. I want you to know I'm thinking about you. Don't feel like you have to respond to me right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like giving people autonomy to answer when they want,
Yeah.
I can remember food showing up,
Yeah.
huge amounts of food.
Yeah.
We weren't eating.
Yeah.
And, you often felt like, well, I need to invite them into my home and then I need a small talk. And eventually someone said to me, but do you?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. Do I? And they're like, no.
Yeah.
Put a cooler on your porch.
Yeah.
Put a sign on your porch. Like,
Yeah.
figuring out what you have to do for yourself through this is not being selfish. And what I learned was we as the grieving people often end up having to educate other people around us. And so we have to find our voice.
Yeah.
We have to say what we need. We have to say, I can't have any more people in my house right now.
Yeah.
or I just need to be left alone, or I can't send these thank you cards out, or I can't respond to these messages. Like, we have to find our voice.
I'm glad you say that, though, because if somebody is listening and they're struggling with that, with the boundaries of I need space, but I want to welcome the kindness.
Yeah.
But then there's that wrestle of I'm trying to welcome the kindness. I appreciate the kindness, but again, it's overwhelming too. So I'm glad you just said that. I'm glad you just said it's okay to have boundaries, and you're not a bad person for having boundaries. And to be honest with you, my thought is if somebody's offended because you had to put up boundaries, that's a them problem. That's not a you problem.
100%.
And you don't need to carry their problem.
100%.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. And these things are going to happen through the whole journey. It's, it's like I often am talking to people about, the things that we tolerate before we're grieving.
Yeah.
That we let roll off our back, or we just roll our eyes to, or whatever. We don't have the mental and physical capacity as a grieving person to do that. Yeah. And so it's okay to just be like, let's talk about the holidays. Like you recently lost somebody, and you're thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go spend an afternoon into the evening with 25 of my family members, and I don't want to do it. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to say, I can't this year.
Yeah.
I think the thing that people just need to know is just acknowledging the elephant in the room with people. Like, just be honest and say, I'm sorry, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I'd like to do this for you. Are you open to that? Or, no pressure. Don't respond to my message, but I want you to know I'm still here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would kind of think too, like, just as you're saying that, I think it's already, again, I've not been, please do not take this as me knowing the situation. I'm just like, as you're saying this, it's already, you're trying to show up for yourself. You've already said it's hard enough just to show up for yourself. Yeah. And I would hope that nobody would put the pressure on you to show up for them too. Yeah. And if they are making you feel like that, then that's probably not your people during this time.
Probably need to rethink that.
Not your circle.
These are called secondary losses, because you do, there are shifts in certain friendships if people can't accept that. And then you're dealing with those things, because you're putting a healthy boundary in place, and people can't appreciate that or understand that. Well, then your friendships are going to shift. You're going to maybe not talk to certain people anymore. And those are called secondary losses. That's, you're more lost because of this loss.
Yeah. And for people pleasers, I'm sure that's really hard. And I'm glad that you just normalized all that. I'm glad you just kind of said, hey, wait a minute, this is okay. And you're not this is your time to heal and to normalize. I mean, I'm sure I'm a people pleaser. I am that's too. What I would want to do. I'd be like, oh, and then now I'm not even, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I went to therapy, and I could hear her in my head at times, almost like she was giving me permission to have my voice. And I would sometimes, my therapist told me not to do that. And now I am that person, and I'll go, blame it on me. Yeah. Just be like, my therapist and I have been talking about this, and she says I don't have to do these things, and it's like, I can hear Dr. Scott's voice in my head still to this day being like, it's okay. You don't have to do those things. Have your plan A, and know that there can always be a plan B. Yeah. Know that you can always have an exit strategy. You don't have to do these things for other people.
Yeah. That's so good. Okay. So we have already kind of little bits and pieces put lost and found in there, but I want to incorporate a little more lost and found. And so 25 years, Lost and Found has been here. We had Sean Askinosie on, who, so in his story, he has a very great story as to why Lost and Found became important to him. And so the grief groups, they're no cost. Give us a little bit of background in Lost and Found for anybody who's not familiar with it, or they're looking because something recent has happened and they're looking. Let's kind of educate them.
Yeah, sure. 25 years in our community to be able to provide no-cost therapeutic grief support is pretty amazing. Yeah. Yeah. And, we're able to do that because of the generosity of this community.
Yeah.
The community continues to show up for us. We're strictly, our fundraising is grants, small amount of grants, and personal donations and business donations. So we're really lucky to have that. And so it's really full circle for me because I genuinely, love what I do there. So I started with a group and then I moved into part-time and then I moved to full-time and now I'm the assistant executive director. So I oversee all the program staff. And so it's really easy to get plugged in. If you need our services, you can call our office or you can get online. That's what I recommend people do. It's the least invasive, right? Because making the phone call is like just as hard as walking through the doors. Yeah. And so get online, fill out a website submission. It comes to the program staff. We reach out to you. We do an intake over the phone, gather some information about yourself, your family, and who died, and then we place you appropriately. So in addition to the no-cost therapeutic groups, we do also offer individual counseling. Okay. That is fee-based, typically $100 a session. Self-pay, we don't accept insurance. Okay. And then there's always ways to just kind of plug in and volunteer too. Yeah. So I always love, here I am. It's full circle for me. I utilize the service. I'm back. I'm in a leadership role. Mark Miller, our executive director, is the same way. And I would say probably about 95% of our facilitators, so there's 2 roles in our group, a coordinator and a facilitator, are previous participants. So, I think it speaks volumes about human connection, a place where they can go, where they can feel safe, where they can feel heard and understood, to talk about something that in most areas of your life you feel like until someone else has experienced it, they have an expectation of you to get over it and to move on. And that's never our expectation because we know it's not true. You're never going to move on. You're never going to get over it. It may soften and you may be able to live, I live a very fulfilled life. I feel I have a lot of gratitude. I'm thankful for my 3 living children. I'm thankful my husband and I are still together. And for my support system. And I think Lost and Found helped me be able to navigate all of that.
Do you think it's even more healing being able to pour into other people?
Yeah.
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 I find that to be very true.
I think, I was a counselor. I had my master's degree. I was working in human resources for a long time. I started a family. I needed health insurance and I just couldn't get into that counseling role. And I say this kind of chose me. I didn't see grief work in my future. And when you go through school, you get very little on grief, even as a counselor. Yeah. I don't know what I would do now. I feel really thankful. I work in a place where I can continue to talk about him. Yeah. His memory is very full there. And it's still a big part of my own healing to walk along people. I learn from everyone I sit with. Yeah. All the time. I'll sit tonight in a child loss group. Yeah. And, sometimes after working a full day, you're tired and you think, oh my gosh, I got 3 more hours to go. Yeah. But I never leave not with my heart feeling filled that I get to watch this healing take place.
There is something, I just personally believe that too. There's something about, and it's not just that connection piece. It's that when you serve other people, there's something healing in it. It just is.
It's funny you kind of say that because it's one of the pieces that we talk about in group with people. It's just like, if your only child died, what's a big part of your identity? Yeah. Being a mother or a father. Yeah. Then your only child dies and you're like, well, who am I? Yeah. Or you've been a wife for 55 years and your spouse died and you're just like, who am I, right? And so there's all this self-exploration that takes place through this journey. And a big piece of it that we talk about, especially for, maybe someone who's retired and the distractions quite aren't the same as volunteering, pouring into somebody else will help you on some level when you're ready.
Yeah. Yes.
When you're ready.
And there's no rush on that. But I also believe that there is somebody in your future who is going to be waiting for the hope that your story is going to bring to them. Yeah. And it's not because tragedy is hope. It's because the tools and what you learned through it, they need those tools.
Yeah.
They need what you learned and how you navigated it to show them that there is hope in the really hard thing.
Yeah.
And so I would just encourage anybody, that's what I really would encourage people, when you're ready, don't hold your story back. Share your story and come alongside other people because they need you. They need who you are. And I would just encourage people with that.
Yeah. The relationships you see happen in these groups are like so heartwarming.
Yeah.
I do a spouse loss group also. I'm filling in the child loss group, but my spouse loss group, they show up early for group. They sit in the lobby. They almost have their own little mini group before that. They've all exchanged numbers. They see each other outside of here, outside of group. And it's that level of connection.
Yes.
That
it's powerful.
It is.
It's powerful.
And I think it speaks to 25 years, right?
Yes.
Like our model has not changed that much. I mean, we shift with people and times and family dynamics, those types of things that shift. But the core of who we are has not really shifted. I mean, there's healing power in that group setting.
Yes. No, I am with you. Okay. Real quick. Is there group, so for adults, but is there also, like, if a child is navigating the loss of a parent or a sibling, is there groups for children or is it adults only?
That's a great question. Yeah. It is for both.
Okay.
And so we were actually founded on children's groups and parent caregiver in conjunction with that. And then we've expanded over time to meet the needs of adults. So we do have family nights, and we try and provide this comprehensive unit where we'll try and serve a whole family unit on one night, as well as the parent caregiver, so that everybody can just come on one night. Yeah. We're probably talking about the same kind of theme throughout the night, and then we can send them home and hopefully continue with facilitating and navigating that conversation outside of Lost and Found. We offer over 20 groups right now. Most of those are in the evening time from 6:30 until 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday.
Is that like 20 different topical or 20 different just available?
Like, we have 4 child loss groups, 5 spouse loss groups, children's, little ones, children or middlers, teens, parent caregiver, adult groups. So it's all a variety of different types of groups. They meet twice a month.
Okay.
In the evening.
Okay.
We do have 2 daytime groups.
So I was just about to ask you. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So, but there is available if somebody can't.
Spouse loss only.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Mm-hmm. Good to know. All right. So what is unique about grief therapy versus other mental health therapy?
That's a good question. I mean, our main goal here is just not even just in therapy, but just educating, having a grief-informed community.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people shy away from this topic. It's not something that most people want to talk about. And so we're getting more and more requests to get out into the community, to get into businesses, for businesses to help employees that have lost a loved one, or if an employee at a business has died. Yeah. So, for us specifically, it's more just around helping navigate the death of a person, grief wise, but I think it's still just adding to the conversation of mental health and taking care of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then how can, one, we know how you got involved, and it's because you were there, you were utilizing the services. And how can somebody get involved who volunteering, what opportunities are there for people to, if they're moved by, going, I want to serve these people. Yeah. What can they do? What opportunities, and how does that start?
So I mean, obviously financially, if someone's compelled to make a donation,
Yeah.
we're kind of going into end of year. And so, financially, it's always helpful. But also we have lots of other volunteer opportunities. Today, we had 2 young kids and their mom come in who were helping us just kind of prepare our little gift that we give to families at Christmas time. Yeah. So we do 4 major events throughout the year that we often need volunteers for. And so you can fill a volunteer application out on our website. We'll track all of that. And then, like I mentioned, the coordinator or the facilitator role or even a greeter role on those nights. Yeah. It takes over 60 plus volunteers to kind of make this organization work. Yeah. So there's only 13 of us on staff, and half of that is probably part-time and half is full-time. Yeah. And then the rest is volunteers. Now, the difference between a coordinator and a facilitator would be that our coordinators are master's level professionals in a counseling, social work, or related field. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what sets us apart from other grief centers is that we're not peer-led. It's therapeutic because the individuals that are running groups do have a master's degree.
Yeah. And what, kind of wrapping us up, if someone is listening and they have experienced or are currently fresh to navigating this, what is something that you just want to leave them with? If they're like, I can't remember all of this, it's still a blur. Just this episode is a blur, and I can't even remember what Megan and Melanie said 30 seconds ago. If you're like, if there's just one thing you could remember, what would it be?
You don't have to do this alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Make a phone call.
Yeah.
Whether it's to your support system or it's to our office and you walk through our doors. I'm not just saying this because I work there. The people that work in this building are some of the most caring, compassionate individuals. Yeah. And so if you can have the courage to pick up the phone or fill out that web submission, we'll do the rest. Yeah. You got to do the hard part of walking through the door, but we'll take you every step of the way. So you don't have to do this alone.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And sharing just so that others can feel connection and hope.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that. Thank you, Melanie.
I'm always happy to talk about Charlie any way I can.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.